If you're watching this video, you're probably curious about which heavyweight bagger you want to spend your hard-earned money on. If you're not, in this video we're going to see some of the recent history of this almost forgotten iconic American brand and discuss some of the important features of these phenomenal motorcycles. So ignore the naysayers and the haters that can't deal with any real competition and see how this newly revived underdog brand really stacks up against the titan that is Harley-Davidson. Being in limbo since the early 1950s after going through bankruptcy, America's first motorcycle company is back. The long streak of failed attempts to bring this iconic brand back from the dead finally ended when Polaris Industries, a company with deep pockets and a lot of know-how, purchased the rights to the long-lost motorcycle company in 2011. By 2014, Indian Motorcycles was ready to make a comeback that nobody ever saw coming when it prepared to release the first new Indian Chief models, the Roadmaster in the following year, alongside, once again, the legendary Indian Scout. Fast forward to the year 2020. After half a decade of steadily rising sales and fighting for every inch of its well-earned foothold in the motorcycle market, the Indian Motorcycle Company was about to unveil a new contender. Unlike many of the other Indian motorcycles with deep roots in their iconic namesakes like the Chief or the Scout, this new Indian gets its name from the essence of the very purpose for which it was created: to be a challenger to the Harley-Davidson. Right from the start, this new Indian came out swinging with a gut-wrenching 122 horsepower, 128 pound-feet of torque, a liquid-cooled short-stroke engine, inverted front forks with over 5 inches of travel, dual-rotor 4-piston Brembo brakes in the front, smart lean technology with a 31-degree lean angle on either side. This monster of a motorcycle feels more akin to a sport bike than a bagger, and that was sure to rattle some cages. After years of alternating wins between the Harley-Davidson Road Glide and the Indian Challenger platforms and the newly founded and surprisingly entertaining king of the baggers races, we finally prepare to step into 2024 with some high hopes for the future of American motorcycles and performance touring. Let's see how these two brands truly stack up from the factory. Both brands offer several different trims on these two motorcycles. We're going to compare the base models, the Road Glide Special with the Dark Horse and Limited, and the CVO with the Elite, as these are the most comparable offerings. The first thing you typically notice on a motorcycle is its color. The base model Road Glide is offered in 3 colors, while the Indian only gets 2. The Road Glide Special has 10 available color combinations, which includes chrome or blacked out parts. Looking at the comparable Limited and Dark Horse models is a fair comparison. Indian falls short in its offerings with only 9 total combinations. The red color offered on either the Limited or the Dark Horse is actually the same, except one is satin and one is gloss. Harley does something identical to Special, changing the chrome parts to black but leaving the same paint job. Both brands offer a great fit and finish. However, besides the Indian Challenger Elite, overall Harley-Davidson does seem to offer more creativity and quality in the paintwork, and so they win this round. This is where things may get a little convoluted. Indian builds all of its Challengers with the smooth and powerful liquid-cooled Power Plus 108. Harley-Davidson, on the other hand, stubbornly sticks with the air-cooled Milwaukee 8 platform. Where they really seem to be messing up in this regard is that they offer this engine platform in several displacement sizes. The base Road Glide comes with a 107 cubic inch, the Special comes with a 114 cubic inch, and the new CVO comes with a 121 cubic inch. What on earth is the point of having so many different engine setups? Why not have just one, but keep offering upgrades like the 131 kit that they already have available? Better yet, why not get with modern times and create a true liquid-cooled engine that allows for increased performance rather than offering only liquid-cooled heads on some models that are designed only for rider comfort? Looking at Harley-Davidson's claimed engine output numbers, as well as real-life dyno testing, demonstrates exactly why they should stick with one engine size for the model and should also move to full liquid cooling. The 107 is said to have 111 pound-feet of torque and an undisclosed horsepower number. Real-life dyno results commonly show the stock 107 pushing out 98 pound-feet of torque and 80 horsepower, and the 114 with 81 horsepower and 108 pound-feet of torque, falling well short of the competition. The standard Power Plus 108 that comes on all the Challenger models, real-world testing is showing an average of 105 horsepower and 114 pound-feet of torque on a stock Challenger. The Harley CVO Road Glide comes from the factory with a Milwaukee 8 121 featuring a full Stage 1 setup, performance exhaust, a side-mounted airbox, and a factory tune, and puts down 101 horsepower and 118 pound-feet of torque. Comparing apples to apples, a similarly equipped Indian Challenger is putting down 113 horsepower and 122 pound-feet of torque. This means a base Challenger with minimal modification easily puts down more power than Harley's most expensive show floor offering, and with no modifications, the Challenger outpaces all of the remaining competition with no effort. Both models offered are around the same weight with a full tank of gas, as well as dry, except the new CVO, which has had some small amount of weight reduction. But in the end, the power-to-weight ratio is still heavily in the favor of the Challenger, and for this, Indian takes the round for strongest bagger. In line with, and just as important as the ability to put power down to the ground, is the ability to safely maintain control of the motorcycle. Harley definitely must have had an inside joke going on with some of the offerings, because only some of the Road Glide models are actually performance baggers, yet they've been on a massive marketing campaign ever since the introduction of the Challenger, trying to put them all into that same category. Conversely, all of the Challenger offerings come with a full host of performance parts, such as inverted front performance forks with over 5 inches of travel. The only Road Glide that comes with inverted performance forks is the CVO, which is not only very limited in production, but also extremely expensive. Further, those forks are only good for 3 inches of travel. They won't even disclose the rear specification, they only say it has 50% more travel than previous offerings. Real funny, Harley. Real funny. When we go down a little further on the motorcycles, we get to the brakes. Both companies offer essentially the same performance braking setup with their dual rotor, 4-piston Brembo brake systems. These brakes offer massive stopping power for these two monstrous machines. On the topic of rear brakes, Indian has a clearly better setup, offering a floating disc in the rear, compared to the fixed disc that comes on all the Road Glide models. Floating discs are more performance-oriented as they offer superior stopping power. Another place where Harley-Davidson falls short is when we look at the ABS offerings. ABS comes standard on every Challenger, while it is not standard on the base Road Glide. It's a paid option. Both bikes have nearly identical lean angles on current 2023 and 2024 models of about 31 degrees, though the older Road Glides do fall short of this number. Both companies also offer what's called an IMU, an inertial movement unit. Indian Motorcycle calls this system Smart Lean, while Harley-Davidson calls it the Rider Defensive Reflex System, or RDRS. What a mouthful. This technology has been available on sport bikes for many years. These are known as 6-axis systems and help to very quickly correct rider error or loss of traction when leaned. It corrects both braking and throttle mistakes very quickly to keep the tires in maximum contact with the ground, which not only increases rider safety, but also can help your average rider learn to approach both the motorcycle's limits as well as their own limits in a safer manner. Indian Motorcycles offers this system as standard on all Challengers except the base model, while Harley-Davidson keeps it locked behind a paywall unless you're buying a CVO. However, we do need to give credit to Harley-Davidson here because they do offer the RDRS system as an option on even the base model. Indian does not. Speaking of keeping the rubber on the road, both companies offer nearly identical front tire sizes, worn by a 19-inch wheel, while the Indian sports a smaller diameter 16-inch rear tire compared to the Harley's 18-inch tire, which in the world of high performance typically means better handling, and this is no exception. The ground clearance on both bikes is nearly identical, but the smaller wheel and tire combination on the Indian results in more nimble and responsive handling as well as a lower center of gravity. This is very quickly noticed by anyone that throws a leg over this motorcycle and takes it for a spin. It handles much more like a sport bike than a full-size touring motorcycle, and is much easier and quicker to lean into a turn than its Harley-Davidson rival. Further, the technology, so to speak, built into the Harley-Davidson Dunlop tire is severely outdated. For some reason, Harley-Davidson chooses to outfit these bikes with biased ply tires, while Indians sport the radial Metzeler Cruise-Tech tires, which are actually manufactured by Pirelli. You know, the company that outfits Formula One race cars. You won't see a biased ply tire on any race car or sport bike, so they don't belong on a performance bagger either. Finally, in the category of tires, both companies fall short and fail consumers by not offering as standard a tire pressure monitoring system on the base models, nor is it an option. Overall, the Indian Challenger offers a superior handling machine with more standard safety and performance features, as well as a pair of better tires right from the factory, so it wins this round. Modern creature comforts are pretty important on a luxury motorcycle, whether it's a performance bagger or a touring machine. While Harley-Davidson's factory seat definitely seems to look more luxurious, it's not quite as comfortable as the standard Challenger seat, which seems to be made of some kind of gel and foam mixture. Harley riders frequently change out the seats for something they can put more mileage on, with the average user reporting that they can only handle about 200 or 300 miles or one tank of gas without having to take a long break. The Challenger, on the other hand, even old guys with bad backs can take these things on a 6 or 8 hour trip with no need for brakes. The lineup from both companies come with analog gauges as well as digital screens, though the Road Glide CVO has a all digital screen with no analog gauges. However, it seems that the base model Harley isn't treated with such high regards as the other models. The base Road Glide comes with a subpar screen, which they don't disclose the specs for on their website, and this really seems to make one feel like the motor company is giving riders that buy the base model the middle finger. All the Challengers come with the same standard, intuitive, and full-color 7-inch touchscreens featuring the easy-to-use Ride Command software. Now, these badass baggers wouldn't be as cool if they weren't rocking some sweet tunes. Both bikes from the factory offer standard sound systems, but this is once again where Harley-Davidson falls short to the competition. Both the base model and Road Glide Special have a 50-watt dual 5.25-inch speaker setup from the factory. The base Challenger ships with a 100-watt dual 5.25-inch setup. Moving up to the limited and Dark Horse models, the dual 6.5-inch 100-watt system is standard. For consumers that want more bang for their buck, Indian now offers their 400-watt, 4-speaker, 9-channel power band system that adds saddlebag speakers right from the factory for $1,250. But it also comes standard on the Elite. This system costs roughly $3,200 before tax to put into older models if you can do it yourself, otherwise you're going to pay labor. The comparable 500-watt Harley-Davidson system is actually a better deal if you're installing it yourself, coming in around $2,500 to $2,600. Depending on which Road Glide model you buy. And like Indian, this system comes standard on the CVO. The results are in. Objectively, in approaching these motorcycles as the performance baggers that they are marketed to be, when comparing all the standard features offered by both companies, the Indian Challenger takes the win by a landslide, taking nearly every single category. It makes one wonder, if Harley-Davidson can build their bagger lineup to frequently win in motorcycle racing against such fierce competition as the Indian Challenger, then why is it they aren't as passionate about offering better performance on these very same baggers that they sell to their loyal customers? Even Indian Motorcycles offers quite literally a clone of their race-winning machine, and their standard Challenger lineup is more than up to the task of tearing up the streets or obtaining more than respectable lap times on a track day. Both of these bikes cost roughly the same amount when equipped in a similar fashion, but only the Indian comes from the factory truly ready to compete. We may still have some time to go before Harley-Davidson realizes it's not in the lead anymore, but actually trying to play catch-up. However, the new CVO is definitely a step in the right direction, and there is still hope to keep both iconic American motor companies in fierce competition for decades to come, which is not only good for the companies, but is excellent for riders passionate about either brand. How does that old saying go? You can put lipstick on a hog, but it's still just a hog.